How are y'all doing today? I've been doing good. Yeah, you see my Nikon F shirt? Yeah, I'm gonna try to clean up these videos, make them a little more professional, try to introduce some very different things that I haven't. I've been making this personal and more about a diary or a vlog, and that was the intent, but another part of me wants to, well, I'm not a professional video maker. I want to do a better job. And so all of my portraits, all of my pictures that I've taken in this video will be shown in various different TikToks. It's the easiest, I think, the way to show them off. Also, I had an opportunity the other day to go over to Nelson Atkins because I live very close to it. And I got to see Andy Warhol. And a lot of people, Robert, you're a photographer, he's a painter. I don't know why they call him a painter. His technique was an alternative photographic process. And I can explain that here in a little while, and maybe in another video, but Andy Warhol's concept was to take a camera called the Polaroid Big Shot, and then he would have silk screens made from the various Polaroids of the portraits of the people that he did. And then with those silk screens, then he would hand paint them. So what Andy Warhol did was very much a alternative photographic process. His paintings arrived as a result of a photograph. But I had an opportunity. I'm going to show you. I photographed the consomme. It's one of his Campbell soup cans. I wish we had one of the Brillo boxes, and maybe, well, it'd be hard to have his balloons, but some of his helium balloons that he used to do. But he's an absolute influence. And then the man behind me, I have 3 of his photos, is Andy Warhol. This is my newest one. I have 2 original Andy Warhols. No, I'm sorry, not Andy Warhol. I have 2 original Ansel Adams prints, and one is just a poster. Believe it or not, one of the prints I found in a very bougie garage sale with a very bougie price. But I love Ansel Adams. I love what he did, and while my work doesn't emulate him, my style, my contrast, I love dark black and white images. Kind of the same way with Robert Mapplethorpe. Even in his flower series, those were colored, but they were very saturated colors. I don't know that I'll ever be professional. Let's just be honest. I probably will be discovered like a Vivian Meyer, hopefully, at least. But the last year, I would like to talk for a second. The last year, I kind of went deep off the rails. And I'm not going to expose anything here, but for the last year, I promoted myself to be something I wasn't. And primarily the reason, I will say primarily the reason that I did it, that I didn't do it even though I was saying I wanted to do it, is because I'm a Christian man and I just couldn't stomach some of the things I saw in that life that's purely demonic, and I didn't want to be a part of it. And so while I was telling everybody I was a part of the community, I wasn't. I was living a lie. Well, I'm moving forward. Today, I want to talk to you about the Nikon ZFC. This is my new, one of my new digital cameras. It's got a flip out screen. I mostly use it like this. The Nikon ZFC is an interesting camera because it looks like a 1970s film DSLR. I look through the eyepiece and keep the screen flipped over. And I very much shoot it like a film camera. In fact, as you guys know, I still shoot a lot of film. I've got probably close to 300 rolls of film in the refrigerator, between the refrigerator and the freezer. All my slide film is in the freezer. Here's a roll of Ektachrome waiting to be developed right now. So I've been down that world, and so when I saw the ZFC, I was actually down in I did a photo shoot for the Missouri Conservation Department. Of some wildlife down there in Springfield at their conservation park, and part of me wanted to go to this camera shop in Springfield, which is world famous. Well, I wouldn't say world famous. Well, pretty famous around here in Missouri. It's called Bedford's, and I walked in there and I kind of knew what I wanted, and I knew that it had what I wanted. I just wasn't sure that day I was walking out with it until I saw it. They were running a special on the ZFC. They were running a special on the ZFC, and it was $999. And for $999, I got the body and the 28mm lens. It is a Z mount, not the F mount, but I did purchase while I was there the ZFC2 Z to F adapter, which allows me to use all my Nikon film lenses to my ZFC using that adapter. And that way, the adapter was not cheap. It was $253, but I already had a full complement of F-glass, and so it just didn't make sense to throw all that away and buy all new Z lenses, which would have cost me a lot more than $253, because some of my lenses were secondhand, but there was nothing wrong with them. They were still performingly good. It's just I had to have the adapter to adapt it to here. I think I've got 2 or 3 Z mount. I've got a pancake, what's called from TT Artisans, called the UFO lens. It's a 16mm. I have a micrographic lens that's a Z mount. Actually, that one's interesting because it's a microscope lens attached to a 3D printed lens barrel for a Z mount. So that's kind of a hand-built lens. Well, taking the lens off of a microscope and then putting it to that 3D printed mount. And I've got a couple of others sitting in my basket from TT Artisans that I would like to have. I haven't pulled the chain on yet, but maybe I eventually will. But as a film photographer, the thing that I love about the ZFC is if I'm grabbing my f4 or if I'm grabbing my f3, I mean, instead of scrolling through menus on the back of that LED screen, that's why I turn mine over. I don't pay attention to it. Instead, I can just dial. So right here's my film speed. I mean, that's my ISO, that's my film speed. There's my exposure compensation. This little switch over here will go from manual, aperture priority, shutter priority, and program mode. Everything I need is in a dial. I don't have to scroll through stupid digital screens trying to find various different modes. So this camera just, I don't know, it cried out to me. I do have one third-party piece on here. This thing is, you see how this is kind of flat? Well, there's not really any grip to it. It's because see the grip here? That's a third-party piece that bolts to the bottom right here. And it just gives you something to hold on to. That was the only thing about the ZFC that I wasn't very fond of. I wasn't very fond of film cameras that didn't have that little bump or grip either, but I did what I had to do. Like the old SRTs. On my F3, I have a 3D printed grip. I have a motor drive, and I love my motor drive, but I wanted the ability to not have to burn through a whole roll of film. So I reached out to Camera Dactyl, and he printed me up kind of a similar grip for my Canon F1 and my Nikon F3. And so right now the F3's got the motor drive completely off, and I'll add the motor drive when I'm doing maybe sports related things so that I can advance to the next screen, be ready to shoot really quickly. But I like to slow down a little bit. I like to work on my speed and my time. I'm sorry guys, I have allergies really bad. In early spring for about a month, I'm constantly clearing my throat just to be able to breathe. Anyways, it's not really a test or a review. It's just to show you what's new in my life. God's given me the ability to have a few cameras that I wouldn't have had when I was married. I actually have three digitals, which maybe we'll review them in videos as we go. And then I have an F3, a Nikon F3, a Nikon F4, a Nikon F5, and a Canon F1. And then I can't even begin to tell you the amount of lenses I have. But I am a Nikon snob. I've always wanted to be a Nikon snob, and I never could afford to be a Nikon snob. And I really can't afford to be a Nikon snob now, but I was graced with a little bit of money. And I didn't want to waste my money, but I was bound and determined to step up my A game with my photography with that money, and that's what I've done. Nobody will ever probably truly appreciate what I've done while I'm on this earth as a photographer. And I understand that, but I just hope that I don't die in obscurity. I hope that my work is discovered. Vivian Meyer is somebody who didn't want to be famous. She hid from the world. But after she passed away, people really took a second look at her work and realized how talented she truly was. And that's all I want. I just want to leave a legacy. My entire life, that's all I've ever wanted to do, is leave a legacy on this earth. And I just decided last year, when things were getting rough with a divorce, that I was going to right my wrongs, and I was going to make something of myself, or at least prepare myself for when I do die. People will know who I am. That's why these videos exist. There's a I'm going to leave behind a chain of events that show my talent and my skills to the world. Anyways, that was my Nikon ZFC. I've in job trouble again. I had to leave the Art Institute. I was kind of delivered an ultimatum. I'm not, when it comes to, I've taught myself everything I need to know on the computer about Lightroom, Photoshop. I use a couple of other third-party computer programs that are photographic related, but I'm not a big computer user outside of that. I can get on the interwebs and shop for cameras all day and spend money I don't have. But I'm not I don't know the computers as well as I thought that I once did. And so I was delivered an ultimatum that I had to learn these computer skills at the Kansas City Art Institute. And I was trained for about 3 weeks and I still didn't get it. I was delivered an ultimatum that I was either going to get fired or I was going to have to quit. Well, I'm 51 years old. And why I need to pay my bills and life is important. Nobody delivers an ultimatum to me. The only person that I will ever accept an ultimatum from is God himself. And I quit. I wasn't getting it, and I was going to get fired over it, and I wasn't going to give my supervisor the pleasure of doing that. It wasn't initially in the job description when I got hired. Sorry. And I left. And I tried to start at General Motors at the Fairfax plant. And I was in orientation for 3 days. And all I heard was F this, shit that, blankety blank this, blankety blank you, blankety blank 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 blank. And they were calling us names and they were putting us down and every other word was the F word. And this was just during orientation, and I'm thinking, if they're treating us like this in the classroom, just wait till you get out on the floor. Well, 3 days of orientation, the 4th day, Bobby didn't report. I'm just not putting myself out there like that. As much as I need money, I'm not going to live an ungodly life anymore. All I want now is to be loved. I don't know what it looks like. I'm ready to fall in love again. I don't think it's asking much. Alright guys. Nikon ZFC. First image you're going to see is the Andy Warhol Consomme can. And the rest of my images will be followed by photos that have been added to TikToks, and then I've saved every one of those TikToks and then added them into this video. Alright guys, see you in the next one. Bye.
Legal de foda, né?